Timeless, Chapter 12, Part 2. Concealment spells fading, a dozen Thestrals dove down from the rafters, swords and daggers flashing. The front line of assailants dropped immediately under the Lunar Knight's attack, the weapons tearing through the ponies' unarmored backs. The leading Earth pony took a swing at shifting, but the unicorn saber easily ripped through flesh and bone in response. Silty Stone stood at the commander's side, the Thestral letting out a deafening screech as he plunged 2 daggers into the nearest enemy. 3 ponies at the rear line hefted familiar spears, the tips glowing with magic. But then a bright light nearly blinded every pony, the 3 individuals collapsing into a pile of dust. Luna's horn was aglow with power.
Thou dare threaten us!
It was a full-on rout as Luna surged into the fray, sending 5 ponies flying with powerful kicks and punches. 2 more were sent hurtling through the solid stone wall, the alicorn batting aside spear and blade alike with her own weapon, as fury shone in her usual peaceful gaze. The Lunar Knights easily tore through the disorganized and the lightly trained crowd, the final few ponies throwing down their weapons with a whimper. Shifting pounced on top of one, his saber leveled at the pony's throat. "Your plans! Speak!" The convict shook his head.
She'll kill me!
"I'll kill you!" A soft giggle then reached every pony's ears, one of the other surrounding convicts nearly collapsing into laughter, eyes drifting across the room casually.
You? Her? What does it matter?
The unicorn chuckled, demeanor not changing as the saber levitated over towards him.
Go ahead! Kill me, not like it matters!
Shifting glanced to Luna, the Lunar Knight still standing at the ready. "Oh, I'd say it matters a great deal. You expected to kill Luna with this bunch? You have a suicide wish?" A smile that showed off sharp filed-down teeth greeted every pony, the unicorn's voice deepening into a malevolent chuckle.
Who says we were after Princess Luna?
The air seemed chill, a feeling of ice water being injected into Shifting's entire body as he looked towards the princess.
Celestia is safe, though. What are you...
Luna's eyes widened in horror, the brutal reality now hitting her full force. Shifting reacted faster, leyline magic pouring into his frame. The stallion's figure surged upwards, raw energy pouring from the spells that ignited along his armor, propelling the Lunar Knight through a window that dripped molten glass onto the floor from the speed of the impact. 3 words echoed in his mind as Shifting sped onwards. The knight was like a shooting star, as raw magic sent him hurtling onwards. "Save her, Shifting!" Shifting's heart thudded in his ears, yet the adrenaline quickly wore off as he soared over Canterlot. This was familiar, charging towards an unknown battle with one goal. The only fear was that of failure, yet that had been conquered long ago. The other knights gave chase, but their wings and speed spells held nothing to this ancient incantation. "I doubt Twilight has minutes to spare." The location of the alicorn was easy to find, a distant purple glow illuminating the area. "The train station!" As he neared the platform, the streets became increasingly crowded. What must have been over 200 ponies packing the area, bristling with weaponry. The few members of the Royal and Night Guards were occupied near the palace, fending off a determined splinter group. A simple spell zoomed Shifting's vision closer, the commander able to pick out the details of the scene on the platform. On the bare concrete pad, a collection of ponies were arrayed around a purple dome, dozens of others standing at the ready. 8 unicorns were set around Twilight's shield, their horns aimed at the barrier as magic lashed out in an offensive attack. One of them held a familiar glowing red crystal, his horn likewise discharging a spell at the shield. Before Shifting broke the enhancing spell, he saw a single word leave Twilight's lips, the alicorn's innocent eyes wide with fear.
Why?
Shifting caught the spell, double-checking his protective runes and armor. A magic dampening field made his fur prickle, that would prevent teleportation, but his momentum wasn't about to be stopped. "Hold on, Twilight!" An ethereal mane strode towards the 8 unicorns, her own horn aglow with magic.
Report! How much longer?
She asked, a misty-eyed earth pony trotting up to her.
Emissary, the Sun Princess has been drugged, and the diversionary force lasted about as long as expected. We should have the shield down within a minute, and then another 5 before the main bulk of the guard can respond. Good. Now I want you to...
Cobblestone shattered, stone sprang every which way as something slammed into the ground. The only remains of the reporting pony were a blood-stained smear, the distant thud of a body echoing in the distance. Armor aglow with power, Commander Shifting Sands turned, redirecting the final momentum of his flight to slam into one of the unicorns surrounding Twilight. Sending another screaming pony flying with a punch, Shifting lashed out with his saber. Another attacker not even having time to yell, as his horn and then throat was sliced clear through. The red crystal was shattered with a punch, the artifact sending shards flying this way and that.
Stop him!
The mare shrieked, an icy spear forming in her magical grasp. Her eyes widened in horror as the unicorn tore into another of the mages, his teeth latching around the shocked pony's throat. Breaking the unicorn's neck with a twist of his head, Shifting tossed the body to slow down the rush of the others, focusing on the last mages.
4 down, 4 go.
Ignoring the incoming crowd, Shifting galloped towards the final unicorns, the 2 nearest now turning to try and lash out with magic. Their spells glanced off of his shields, Shifting sending his own bolts their way. One collapsed immediately, body scorched by the raw energy. Another gurgled as Shifting's saber plunged into his chest, collapsing into the ever-increasing amount of blood on the cement platform. The final 2 managed to score a hit across Shifting's flank, but the armor easily deflected the hasty bolts. His blade lashed out again, 2 more throats being sliced as the ponies fell to the ground.
Princess Twilight!
Shifting barked, causing the stunned alicorn to look his way.
I'm Commander Shifting Sands of the Lunar Knights. I need you to keep that shield up. Avert your eyes, please. You don't want to see this. Can you do that for me?
A simple nod was her reply, Shifting slinging the blood from his saber as he trotted forwards, holding the weapon at the ready.
You dare interrupt us again?
A familiar mare hissed, body steaming as though ice freshly removed from a freezer. Ponies now surged forwards, the emissary beginning to laugh.
You won't.
A magical bolt from Shifting fried the pony at her side, the mare stumbling backwards in surprise as the commander tackled the nearest convicts.
I just have to hold out.
A cacophony of sounds reached his ears, the rearmost of the 100-strong group suddenly turning to confront a flurry of movements.
And there's Luna with the knights.
Dodging a thrown spear, Shifting levitated the weapon in his grasp, ducking a sword that spun his way. Eyeing his target, the commander pirouetted and sent the retrieved spear onwards, sending it hurtling towards the retreating mare. A deafening shriek made the crowd shiver, an ethereal pony stumbling as an enchanted spear buried itself in her side. Ripping it out, she hissed as mist poured from the wound, glaring at the commander in the distance.
This isn't over,
she growled, retreating down a side road with 40 or so of her group. Shifting felt a blow glance off of his armor, the knight ducking another magical bolt. With this many assailants, being on the offensive wasn't possible, not anymore. With the element of surprise gone, they now had surrounded him, lashing out at the smallest opening.
Defend. I can do that. Defend!
He tripped over a body, one of more than a dozen that arrayed the battlefield. Blood soaked his hooves, causing the commander to nearly stumble again as he parried a blade with his own.
Too many!
Shifting's eyes widened as a pony at the rear of the group threw a spear, this one completely black and glowing with magic.
That's not aimed at me!
His attempts to grip the object with magic was sloughed off by the repelling metal and spells around the weapon, Shifting's hooves then moving on their own. The spear's path was clear, aimed directly at the exposed neck of Twilight, the alicorn looking at the opposite direction.
Save her, Shifting!
Luna's voice echoed in the commander's mind as he jumped, bringing a hoof to smack the spear aside. He missed, the weapon instead slamming into Shifting's armor, the point burying itself into the knight's side. Pain shot through his frame, Shifting landing with a thud next to Twilight's shield. Horrified eyes met his, the princess's lip quivering slightly. With a grunt, Shifting levered himself up, feeling his heartbeat spasm slightly.
Poison? No, it was just in between my ribs. Maybe a mortal blow?
Hey, we got him! Go!
A voice sounded, another 24 ponies now charging. Shifting's vision began to blur, and the stallion shook his head.
I only hope they can pull me back, Luna. Forgive me.
Shifting bellowed a spell, his eyes glowing a sinister red as dark tendrils of magic surged from his frame. The spell cloaked the pony in shadow, 2 maroon eyes glaring at the assailants as the creature in front of them doubled in height. As spears of dark magic lashed out like extra limbs, it ripped into the terrified group. Twilight's lips moved slightly, as she whispered the spell to herself, unable to terrorize away. A creature that was once Shifting dove into the nearest gathering of ponies, limbs composed of dark magic puncturing hide and armor, knife-like appendages slitting throats and breaking limbs with ease.
May the shadows succeed where I failed. Praise the night.
The emissary led her 40-odd ponies through a deserted side street, her wound throbbing from the enchanted weapon's impact.
Failure. They will not be happy. But what more could we have done? On to the next stage then. Losing a battle is not the war. But with the loss of our warehouses, the next stage will be sorely hindered. At least it has begun in one aspect, even if it reduced effectiveness. Wait.
The night sky was abruptly blotted out by a light emanating from Canterlot Castle, causing the ponies at her side to shiver. The temperature abruptly skyrocketed, golden magic diving down to line the street that they were on. Windows were forced closed, and powerful shields encased the group in a regular funnel, protecting the oblivious inhabitants on either side of the street.
What is...
A crack sounded across the night. The sound barrier shattered as a glowing orb impacted the street in front of the group, cobblestones melting into molten slag. Eyes slitted and ablaze with rage, the alicorn in front of them glared at the assailants with a merciless gaze. orange and yellow armor covered in alabaster frame, as though forged from a solar flare itself. The metal greaves, breastplate, helmet, and wing blades poured forth fire as Celestia took a few steps forward, her mane an inferno. The tranquilizers in her system had since been burned away as she opened her connection to the sun, the raging princess staring down at the group of assailants. The bold pony lunged forward with an enchanted spear, but could only let out a choked scream as the weapon in his body melted to ash before it even got close to the alicorn. 3 ponies yanked out familiar red crystals, the powerful spells activating with a high-pitched whine.
There! Now get her!
A pony called, but their bravado was shattered by the sinister laugh that left the alicorn's mouth.
Oh, you have all forgotten, haven't you?
Celestia asked, striding forward to confront the still stalwart emissary. Levitating the 3 active gems close, Celestia examined each, the only sign of discomfort a slight wince. Melting under her gaze, the gems shrieked as their magic was released, the artifacts joining the molten sludge underneath Celestia's hooves.
Did you think you were the first to try such tricks on me? Or the second? Or the 100th?
Celestia growled, levitating the emissary into the air.
Your masters have forgotten why they don't set hoof in Equestria, haven't they? Then, pass along this reminder.
The mare let out a shriek, fire beginning to burn away her frame, hooves being eaten away by the inferno that ignited underneath them. A slight strained laugh left her, however, the defiant mare then glaring at Celestia.
We'll be back! You can't kill me or my masters!
She hissed, eyes widening in horror as Celestia's gaze bore into her own, no mercy behind the black and fiery gaze.
Perhaps, but I can burn your form, your masters, their home, everything. I can burn it over and over and over again until they get the point.
Celestia hissed, fire continuing to eat away at the emissary's limbs.
Tell this to your masters. They can send their assassins, their armies, their legions against me. I will withstand them all, but you will stay away from my sister, from Shifting, from Twilight, and her friends. You will not touch them!
The ethereal mare let out a final panicked shriek of agony, fire burning away her frame in a mist, magic escaping her broken body with a thunderous snap. As Celestia's gaze then turned to the 40 ponies frozen in place, the temperature began to rise once again. So it seems like 2 of them went berserk. Let's just hope that they can get back to normal after all this is done. Anywho, let's get on to our calm and collective donators. Top donators are 630, Peter Coulthard, J Tinman, Darkside, Only One Thing, and Twinkie. Rayden, Narwhals, Blackmoonheart, Pastel Skies, Austin Rollins, Crazy Color 557, Stu Hex, Sword Brother Mordred, Omicron Lyrae, Will, Chris, Dospo, Delta Omega, Jack Cadge, Runetype 9852, Madman Stan, Leslie Perkett, Drake Lovedragon, Hunter Norman, Stephen Bingham, LineGuy12, Sorcerer Constantine, Hudzaza, Conver, and many more fantastic people. Thank you all so much for watching this video and live life to the fullest.